Welcome back to WION World is One. Thank you so much for staying with us. My name is Hem Kaursar and here's what we've lined up for you on Speed News today. The United States vetoed a UN Security Council resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire and unrestricted humanitarian access in Gaza, arguing that it would undermine ongoing diplomatic efforts to end the conflict. The decision of the US sparked criticism from other council members. 14 members out of the 15-member body supported the resolution. This was the UNSC body's first vote on the situation since November, when the United States, which is a key Israeli ally, blocked a text calling for an end to fighting. Trump has ordered an investigation into allegations of a cover-up of Joe Biden's declining cognitive health during his presidency. The presidential memorandum claimed that Biden's aides abused the power of presidential signatures through the use of an auto pen to conceal Biden's cognitive decline. Biden has slammed Trump's allegation of a cover-up, calling it ridiculous. US President Donald Trump has signed a proclamation suspending entry for foreign nationals seeking to study or participate in exchange programs at Harvard University for 6 months, amid an escalating dispute with the Ivy League institution. The order stated existing overseas enrollees could have their visas terminated. A university spokesperson said that Trump's action was another illegal retaliatory step taken in violation of Harvard's First Amendment rights, and added that Harvard will continue to protect its international students.
We think we're in very good shape.
US President Donald Trump has signed an order banning entry of nationals from 12 countries into the US, citing national security threats and visa overstay concerns. Trump said that the new travel ban was spurred by an attack on a Jewish protester in Boulder, Colorado. The countries fully restricted are Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan and Yemen. Additionally, there will be partial restrictions on travelers from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan and Venezuela. Russian drone strikes hit the Ukrainian city of Perluki, killing 5 people, including a 1-year-old child, 2 women, and wounding 6 others. The strikes damaged residential homes, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis. This attack comes after Ukraine launched a massive drone assault on Russian military air bases, destroying over 40 warplanes worth billions of dollars. Russian leader Vladimir Putin has said that he will seek revenge for Kyiv's attack and has appeared to rule out a ceasefire for direct talks with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Kremlin foreign policy aide Yuri Ushakov said that US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin had a 75-minute phone call discussing the Ukraine conflict, specifically focusing on recent Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian airfields and civilians, as well as the second round of Russia-Ukraine negotiations. He said that Putin expressed strong displeasure with Ukraine's attack and vowed to respond strongly. Trump described the conversation as good, but noted it wouldn't lead to immediate peace. The new Syrian government has agreed to grant immediate access to International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors to investigate suspected former nuclear sites. The IAEA Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi met with Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara in Damascus, discussing the inspection process and potential nuclear energy cooperation. An IAEA team in 2024 visited some sites of interest while former President Bashar al-Assad was still in power. Under Assad, Syria was believed to have operated an extensive clandestine nuclear program, which included an undeclared nuclear reactor built by North Korea in eastern Deir al-Zor province. Grossi expressed hope to complete the inspection process within months, while also offering assistance in nuclear medicine and potentially nuclear energy, including small modular reactors. Thousands of protesters, including scientists, feminists and people with disabilities, joined the weekly pensioners' protest in Buenos Aires to protest the austerity measures of Javier Milei's government. Since taking office in December 2023, Milei's government has implemented a public spending reduction program of 4.7% of the GDP, halving the inflation rate, which fell from 211% in 2023 to 118% in 2024. Muslim pilgrims prayed atop Mount Arafat during the high point of the annual Hajj pilgrimage, as Saudi officials advised pilgrims to avoid the hottest hours of the day due to extreme temperatures. Pilgrims spent hours praying and reciting the Quran at the holy mountain and the surrounding plain where the Prophet Muhammad is believed to have given his last sermon. After sunset, the pilgrims will head to Muzdalifah, halfway between Arafat and sprawling tent city of Mina, where they will gather pebbles so that they can perform the symbolic stoning of the devil. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met with Russian Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu in Pyongyang, reaffirming North Korea's unconditional support for Russia's stance on key international issues, including the war in Ukraine. In April, the two countries officially confirmed North Korean troops' deployment to Russia for the first time, saying that soldiers of the two countries were fighting alongside each other to repel a Ukrainian incursion into Russia's Kursk border region. In the meeting, both countries agreed to solidify their strategic partnership, with discussions on boosting military cooperation and commemorating North Korean soldiers' contributions in Russia's Kursk region. Hundreds of bus drivers protested in La Paz over fuel shortages, which have caused long queues at petrol stations. The shortages are linked to Bolivia's economic crisis and the dollar shortage, making it hard for the government to import fuel. Some protesters demanded President Luis Arce's resignation, but anti-riot police blocked their path to the government buildings. This is the latest in a series of protests over the government's handling of the economic crisis. A cargo ship carrying 3,000 vehicles, including 800 electric vehicles, was abandoned off of Alaska's coast after a fire broke out on board. 22 crew members were safely evacuated with the U.S. Coast Guard assistance. The Liberia flagship was en route Mexico from China when smoke was spotted on a deck loaded with EVs, which are notoriously difficult to extinguish due to heat and reignition risks. The Coast Guard has sent aircrew and a cutter ship to assist, with 3 vessels already on the scene. The Washington Department of Natural Resources used a firefighting helicopter to airlift abandoned boats from an uninhabited island to the mainland for deconstruction. The operation, funded by a $1 million NOAA grant, removed 14 vessels and marked the agency's largest boat removal effort. The state opts for airlifts when towing would harm the marine environment, particularly kelp beds crucial for salmon. Since 2002, the department has removed over 1,200 derelict vessels, but 300 more remain. The dollar drifted in muted trading after weak U.S. economic data revived fears of slow growth and high inflation. The euro was steady ahead of an expected interest rate cut from the European Central Bank. The soft data, which showed U.S. services sector contracted for the first time in nearly a year in May, and an easing labor market, led to a rally in treasuries and increased odds of interest rate cuts from the Federal Reserve this year. The greenback weakness has been the story of the year, with foreign exchange strategists surveyed by Reuters expecting further declines on mounting concerns about the U.S. federal deficit and debt. Oil prices slipped in early trade after a build in U.S. gasoline and diesel inventories and Saudi Arabia's cut to its July prices for the Asian crude buyers. Brent crude futures fell 0.3% to $64.65 a barrel. U.S. oil dropped 0.5% to $62.58 a barrel. Oil prices closed around 1% lower on Wednesday after official data showed that the U.S. gasoline and distillate stockpiles grew more than expected, reflecting weaker demand in the world's top economy. The European Central Bank is almost certain to cut interest rates again today and keep all options on the table for subsequent meetings, even as the case grows for a pause in its year-long easing cycle. The ECB has cut rates 7 times in 13 months as inflation eased from post-pandemic highs, seeking to prop up a Eurozone economy that was struggling, even before erratic U.S. economic and trade policy dealt it yet another blow. With inflation now safely in line with its 2% target, and a cut flagged by a host of policymakers, this decision will be uncontroversial, with the focus on what signals ECB President Christine Lagarde might send about the policy ahead. Australian household spending rose only marginally in April, a further sign consumption was still lagging income growth despite a drop in borrowing rates and cooling inflation. The Australian Bureau of Statistics monthly household spending indicator showed a seasonally adjusted rise of just 0.1% in April. Household spending comprises around 52% of the GDP, but made only a minor contribution to growth in the first quarter when the economy expanded by a meager 0.2%. The Reserve Bank of Australia already had to slash its consumption forecast when it cut interest rates by a quarter point to 3.85% in May and will now likely have to downgrade the outlook even further.